So with it being October, it's that time of the year where everybody is doing their horror movie reviews. A few people have asked the same of me they asked me if I'm going to be covering any horror movies during this month, and I wasn't sure if I was going to at first, but I decided, why not? This one is also not really that much of a horror. It's more of a comedy than it is a horror. But Wikipedia does class as a horror movie, so I'm going to review it. Also, the entire movie can be seen as Alan Tudyk's audition for his cameo in Deadpool 2.
What kind of dumbass question is that to ask?
Two hillbilly friends purchase a house in the woods and they intend to do it up and make it their vacation home. At the same time, a group of college kids go out camping to go out and have some fun, and a series of unfortunate things happen, and college kids get killed off accidentally, one by one, and two hillbillies get blamed for it. So the movie is a twist on the hillbilly slasher horror movie. A very niche genre, isn't it? All the college kids are getting killed off one by one, and the hillbillies are both getting blamed for it, and it's a very funny movie. You have Alan Tudyk playing Tucker, and Tyler Labine playing Dale, and Katrina Bowden playing Allison, which is the down-to-earth hot chick. The rest of the characters are not really kind of characters, they're just stereotypes that you see in a lot of generic horror movies. For example, you have the jock. His name is Chad, for f***'s sake. The pothead, the token black guy and the token black girl, the hot blonde airhead, the nerd, and the virgin, I think? So yeah, that's basically how you describe their characters, just what stereotype they're playing. The acting is especially top-notch from Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine. They are both fantastic comedic actors, and their acting in this is very good, as I just said. And they play very well off each other, they have very good chemistry, and they play very likable characters.
One of those suckers came running out of nowhere and speared himself straight through the gut and died right on top of me, Tut. Holy crap. Oh no!
Calm down, don't cry, calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
I wouldn't be surprised if a whole bunch of their dialogue had been ad-libbed and just them inserting bits and pieces here and there, just putting their own twist on things. The rest of the cast, in my notes I wrote cats, the rest of the cats do well. The rest of the cast, they do well enough. They're pretty decent, like, not saying that they're horrible or anything, but there was a few lines peppered throughout the movie is probably the best way to explain it. They do well enough. But there's a few lines throughout the movie where I just think, is that the best take he could have done? Maybe try again, but it doesn't really detract from the movie too much. Obviously, with this movie being a comedy, it has a comedic tone. Duh. The sheer ridiculousness of how people die, like the accidents that happen that lead to people dying, and just the two hillbillies, Tucker and Dale, being in the wrong place at the wrong time and getting blamed for all these bad things happening, which is just an awesome twist on a horror movie. A lot of the dialogue is funny as well, which shows excellent writing. It's just so much fun just to watch these accidents happen and people dying and Tucker and Dale getting blamed for it. Now, as I said at the start, this is technically a horror movie, so there are some kind of horror elements to it. There's not really any jump scares or anything like that, but just when you're seeing things from the the college kids, people's perspective, that's where we get the horror elements from, when we're seeing things from their point of view and how they misinterpret things and think that Tucker and Dale are killer hillbillies. Even with those little horror elements, this movie is not scary at all. I am the biggest wimp when it comes to horror movies. I'll cover my eyes when I sense a jump scare coming, and I scare quite easily in movies, but in this I was not scared at all. So it barely classifies as a horror movie, in my opinion. It also seems to have a message about stereotypes and how we shouldn't judge people by their look. Especially hillbillies, I guess. Not much to say about anything to do with CGI. There are some things that are CGI, and they do blend with the movie quite well and are not noticeable, with the exception of one bee. But what this movie does well in terms of special effects is the practical effects. Now, I am an absolute sucker for practical effects. Practical effects bring up the standard of a movie for me. It's really a dying art in using practical effects for movies as opposed to just using CGI, which what most movies do nowadays. There are some very good practical effects with people getting impaled, stabbed, getting impaled through the head. It looks really realistic and really good, especially for a movie that has a low budget like this movie.
Come on! What is going on? How's he even walking right now, Tuck? He looks like he's gonna walk it off. He's gonna be fine.
At an hour and a half, this movie is just perfect. It sets up everything very quickly, introduces your characters and the basic plot of the movie very quickly, and then from there, it's just laughs and fun all the way through. So the pros of this movie is just fantastic comedy, great comedic moments, good writing, fantastic performances from Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, and awesome practical effects that really brought it up for me. Also a good pace, doesn't tie down the movie at all. Cons are, I can't really think of too many things that bothered me too much with the film. I loved it. I love it so much. There were some lines of dialogue that I felt could have been delivered a bit better, but not a huge nitpick. And also the little horror elements to this movie aren't really that scary. Not a big thing for me because I'm not the biggest fan of horror. But for other people, they might not enjoy it because it's supposedly a horror movie. I am going to rate this movie a 9 out of 10. This movie is damn funny. It is enjoyable. I highly recommend that you right now go watch this movie. It is a very fun time and I guarantee you will not regret it. This is some minor spoilers for the plot and the supposed twist at the end of the movie. I decided to just talk about this at the end in case someone hasn't seen it, and I didn't really want to spoil it for them. But I liked in the movie how Chad, the jock, eventually becomes the bad guy just by essentially it's like he's losing his mind and he just relentlessly goes after these hillbillies because he has this prejudice to hillbillies because they attacked his mum and dad and raped and tortured and his mum, which is then later revealed. I loved that part in the movie. That was really really good. And it's funny because the twist is that he is the son of a hillbilly and he hates hillbillies so much, and they just treat it's like hillbillies are like a completely separate race, like saying, oh my god, he's half hillbilly, which is just hilarious. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching my video. I highly recommend that you go out and watch this movie as soon as possible. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.